Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine your company. Maybe you're struggling with these outdated, kind of clunky interfaces. They frustrate employees, slow everything down. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into SAP Fiori. It's really the modern answer to that exact challenge. Basically, it's the sleek, user-friendly experience for SAP applications. Now, our insights are coming from some interesting source material, specifically practice questions for an exam, the CFIORD 2502. But let me be super clear here. Our mission isn't just about prepping for some test. Not at all. It's about giving you a shortcut to really get your head around the crucial stuff, the architecture, the management, the whole user experience side of Fiori. You're going to get, I think, some surprising facts and practical insights that just make sense, even if you don't have, deep technical knowledge coming in.
That's exactly right. And while the source might frame things as exam points, the knowledge itself, it's super broad, really valuable for anyone who interacts with modern business software. Understanding these core Fiori bits is absolutely key. Key to appreciating how Fiori really changes the game, how it improves interaction with those powerful, sometimes complex SAP systems that run so many companies. It's like taking that powerful engine and giving it a dashboard anyone can actually understand and use.
Right. So let's pull back the curtain then. Let's look at the blueprint, the foundation of Fiori, its architecture, and how all those pieces talk to each other. Fiori is, like you said, the modern face of SAP. But how does that polished front end, the part the user sees, actually connect to the powerful SAP backend, where all the data lives? And crucially, how do these different parts communicate?
Yeah, this is where it starts getting really interesting, I think. One of the first things you hit when setting up Fiori is this choice, right? How you deploy it. The source material points to a specific option, one that's designed for centralized management. What's the thinking there?
Yes. What's fascinating there is the central hub deployment option. This isn't just like a convenient setup. It's actually quite a strategic choice, especially for bigger organizations. With this approach, you deliberately separate the SAP Fiori front-end server, that's the bit handling the UI, how things look. You separate it from your back-end SAP systems, where the actual business data and logic sit.
Okay, so they're physically separate servers. Often, yes. Or logically separate. The real genius here, though, is that it allows for truly centralized management of that Fiori UI. Just imagine, maybe your company runs a dozen different SAP systems, HR, finance, logistics, whatever, and each one needs a Fiori interface. Central Hub lets your IT team manage one single Fiori UI layer for all of them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it massively simplifies updates, it ensures consistent branding across all your apps, and frankly, it cuts down on a lot of duplicated effort and cost across the whole enterprise.
Right.
It really brings order to what could otherwise be, well, a bit of a mess.
That sounds like a huge strategic plus. Definitely. So, okay, if the front end and back end are separate, how do they actually, pass information back and forth? What's the language they speak?
Right, that crucial communication layer. Between the Fiori UI and the SAP backend, that's handled by OData services. Think of them as universal translators. Or maybe APIs, if you're familiar with that term. They basically enable the exchange of data and the execution of business logic, but in a standardized, RESTful way.
RESTful, okay.
Yeah, which is a common web standard. So it means your sleek, modern Fiori interface can seamlessly ask for data, get data back, or trigger processes from those powerful SAP systems behind the scenes. And it's this standardized approach, this OData thing, that also makes it easier, potentially, for Fiori to talk to non-SAP systems down the line.
Yeah.
It extends its reach.
Interesting. So it's not just SAP to SAP necessarily.
Potentially, yes. The standard allows for that.
Okay, cool. So we've got the backbone sorted out, central hub deployment, OData services handling the chat. That lays the groundwork. But what about the actual apps, the content? How do you get them up and running for users? And how do you manage them once they're live?
Right, managing the content itself. So when it comes to managing all your Fiori content, things like the different app tiles you see, how they're grouped together, where they show up, the Launchpad Content Manager is your main tool. It's specifically designed to be, well, super intuitive. It gives you a user-friendly interface for organizing that Fiori content catalogs, groups, spaces. We'll maybe touch on those later. But the point is, it simplifies the setup, the configuration, the organization of the Fiori Launchpad content. So you don't need to be like a deep technical expert, a coder, to manage how it looks and feels for the users.
That sounds like it really speeds things up and makes it more accessible for maybe business analysts or functional folks too.
Exactly. It democratizes the management a bit.
Nice. Okay, speaking of setup, What's the absolute fundamental first step? Just getting Fiori running properly in an S/4HANA system. Is there like a specific procedure, a checklist for that initial activation?
Absolutely there is. The foundational step, the real starting point for getting Fiori running smoothly in S/4HANA involves a very specific task list. It's like a guided setup wizard, really. It's called SAP Fiori Foundations 4.
SAP Fiori Foundations 4, got it.
Yep. And you really have to think of it like laying the concrete foundation for your Fiori house. If you don't run this specific task list correctly, it's like building on sand. Nothing else is going to stand upright. Your Fiori apps just won't work properly, no matter how nice they look. It makes sure all the essential Fiori services, the configurations, the settings, all that underlying plumbing gets activated properly right from the get-go.
So it's basically non-negotiable. You got to do that first.
Pretty much, yeah. For a smooth start, definitely.
Okay. But what if you're dealing with a huge number of Fiori apps, say hundreds that need activating? That sounds like it could take forever doing them one by one. Is there a way to automate that, like a bulk activation?
Yes, thankfully. For that exact scenario, you turn to something called rapid activation task lists. These are incredibly valuable, especially for the implementation teams. They're designed precisely to activate multiple Fiori apps quickly, efficiently during the system setup. How?
Yeah.
By automating many of the required steps and configurations in bulk.
Ah, okay, so it bundles them up.
Exactly. It's a tremendous amount of time and effort. And it prevents what could otherwise be a very tedious and honestly error-prone manual process. Click, 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 hundreds of times. No thanks.
Yeah, I can imagine. That makes a lot of sense. Now, circling back slightly, you mentioned OData services being absolutely crucial for communication. How exactly are those managed once they're sort of in the system, in the SAP gateway? Is there like a central control panel where administrators can tweak how Fiori talks to the backend?
There is indeed. There's a specific transaction code, kind of like a shortcut, for that main dashboard. IWFND main service?
IWFND/main service.
That's the one. This transaction, it's where administrators go to manage all the registered OData services on the SAP gateway. It's where they can, activate a new service needed for an app, deactivate one that's maybe causing issues or is no longer needed, or just generally maintain the services required for your Fiori apps to function correctly.
So it's like the switchboard operator for Fiori data.
Yeah, that's not a bad analogy. You can think of it like managing the traffic lights for your digital information highway, making sure data flows correctly, securely between the Fiori front end and the SAP back end.
Perfect. Okay, so we've covered the architectural backbone, how to get everything activated, managed on the system side. Great stuff. Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's focus on the user's perspective. Once Fiori is up and running, how does it actually look and feel for the people using it every day? How do they navigate it? How is their access controlled? Like, when a user clicks a tile on their Fiori launchpad, how does the system know exactly where to send them? What happens next?
Right, the navigation magic. That's where target mapping comes into play. Inside the Fiori Launchpad configuration, target mappings are what define the navigation targets. They do this by linking what SAP calls semantic objects, which is basically a fancy name for a business concept like customer or sales order or product.
Okay, like a noun.
Sort of, yeah. It links that semantic object with a specific action you can perform on it, like display, create, manage, approve. So when you click a tile, let's say it's related to sales orders, the target mapping looks at the combination of sales order and maybe the action display. And based on that mapping, it knows exactly which application to launch to let you view that sales order. It ensures you land in the right place, not just some random app.
Ah, so it's the intelligent routing system for the Launchpad?
Precisely. It figures out the where to go based on the what and the how.
That makes perfect sense. Okay. And once they're in using the Launchpad, can users actually change their experience? Can they personalize it to better suit how they work, maybe move things around, hide stuff they don't use?
Yes, absolutely they can. And this is a really core part of Fiori's user-centric design philosophy. Users generally have the ability to customize their own tile groups, rearrange the layout, maybe choose different themes, things like that, all to fit their own preferences.
So they can make it their own, essentially.
Exactly. This personalization really empowers them. It significantly improves usability because things they use often can be front and center. And it allows them to have quicker, more direct access to their most frequently used apps and information, which, saves time and frustration.
Definitely a win for user adoption, I'd imagine. People like feeling they have some control. And speaking of organizing content on that launch bit, I know the source material hints at a more modern way to structure things, something beyond just basic groups. What's the advantage of this newer approach? How's it better than the older methods?
Yeah, you're probably thinking about spaces and pages. This is the more modern approach for organizing Fiori Launchpad content, moving beyond the older concept of just flat groups of tiles. The key advantage of spaces and pages is really that they provide a much more flexible and arguably a more user-friendly way to structure all that content.
How so? More flexible how?
Well, instead of just one long list of groups, spaces act like top-level work areas, maybe related to a specific role or major task area. And within each space, you have pages. Pages then contain the actual apps, the tiles, but organized more coherently. It allows for a kind of hierarchical structure. Think tabs within a browser almost. This generally improves navigation quite a bit, makes it less overwhelming, and provides a more intuitive and personalized user experience within the Fiori Launchpad. It's about presenting information in a way that maybe better mirrors a user's actual workflow or role.
Okay, so more structure, better context for the apps. I can see how that would be an improvement over just endless scrolling groups. Right, finally, let's talk security. It's always critical. With all these apps, personalized content, different roles, how is access actually secured? Who gets to see what tile, what app, what data, and how is that controlled within the SAP system?
Yeah, crucial point. For Fiori security and authorization, the absolute cornerstone, the foundation, is PFCG roles. That's the standard SAP authorization concept. These PSCG roles are what you use to define and assign all the necessary authorization objects.
Okay, standard SAP security roles.
Exactly. But specifically for Fiori, these roles include the authorizations for the semantic objects we talked about earlier and for the tiles or apps themselves that are displayed in the Launchpad. So by carefully building these PFCG roles and then assigning them to individual users or maybe user groups, administrators can precisely control user access and navigation within Fiori.
So the role dictates which tiles you even see on your Launchpad.
Correct. And what actions you can perform via those tiles, and ultimately what data you can access in the back-end system through those Fiori apps. It ensures users only see and interact with the applications and data they are explicitly authorized for. It maintains the integrity and security of the whole SAP system. It's basically how you make sure the right people have the right keys, and nobody has keys to doors they shouldn't be opening. Thinking about all this, and it raises an important question, something perhaps for you, the listener, to consider, considering this deep emphasis we've seen on modularity, on user centricity, and this flexible architecture that's just inherent in Fiori's design. How might these foundational principles continue to reshape how businesses interact, not just with their complex data and processes, but maybe even with their own employees in the years to come? Food for thought.